It's 5 o'clock and time for Wiregrass Strong. The new coronavirus epidemic is a big problem that's expected to become bigger in the weeks and months to come. For those who are infected, as well as those trying to avoid infection, these are trying times. But amid all the doom and gloom, there are some positive stories, positive messages, and reasons to remain hopeful. So every afternoon at this time, your Wiregrass Radio family of stations will come together while staying apart to help you stay informed. We're going to be seeking your input. If you're a business impacted by the virus, call and let the Wiregrass know what you are doing to continue safely providing your services or goods. And if you're a parent working hard to take care of your family, we'd love to hear how you are coping. Remember, only the facts, no hearsay or rumors, and we're trying to keep things positive. Our number is 334-699-1053, or you can join us on YouTube Live, and you can chat throughout the program. Well, good afternoon and welcome to Wiregrass Strong for a Tuesday afternoon. This half hour is brought to you as a public service of Knights Wrecker Service. Big or small, they do it all. Knights Wrecker Service, 899-3257. Ashford, Dothan, and Headland. Right now would not be the time to break down, so give them a call when you need them. 899-3257. We're broadcasting on all four of our radio stations here in the Wiregrass, WESP, WECB, WJRL Dothan, and WBBK Blakely Dothan. Welcome to Wiregrass Strong. I want to say before we get started, this Friday we have Alabama Secretary of State John Merrill on Wiregrass Strong. He will be here to discuss ways voters can participate in the July 14th primary runoff election amid the coronavirus epidemic. As we strive to protect the safety and well-being of voters in our state, it's important that we give them some type of options and make them aware of the opportunity to vote by absentee ballot. Now, on our panel today is Miss Amy Pollard, and Miss Amy Pollard from the Pollard and Dave Morning Show on B1053.
Good morning. Oh, good afternoon, not good morning. I got my times mixed up here.
And we are broadcasting. I know she is used to being on the morning show with Pollard and Dave Gilligan, and we're streaming live on Facebook at B1053.com, watching it right over there. And we're also streaming live on YouTube at Wiregrass Radio. Just go to the Wiregrass Radio YouTube channel, and you'll see Wiregrass Strong, and you can click on that. Also on the panel with us today, Pastor Michael Gibson of the Panther Creek Baptist Church in the Wicksburg community. Michael, good to have you on the show today.
Hello.
Hello, Michael. You know, it looks like Michael's froze. Also on the panel, no, actually, he's not froze. Look at there. We got the top of Terry Sorrells' head. Terry is with us from Sorrells Funeral Home. How you doing, Terry?
I'm doing good, Sorrell. How are y'all doing?
We're doing fine. Good to have you here. Michael, can you hear us, Michael? Let's work out Michael's problem before we move on here. Michael, can you hear us? Everybody wave at Michael. Come on, Michael. Here we go.
Michael.
He's still.
And I can't hear you.
Oh, there he is.
Supposed to be able to.
Oh, you can hear me?
I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and drop Michael because if he logs back on, it usually remedies those problems. So let's go ahead and drop Michael here. Okay. And we'll continue on with Terry Sorrells.
I'm telling Michael to log back in.
Okay. Terry is with Sorrells Funeral Home. And Terry, it's good to have you on this afternoon. And we're reaching out to the community with all types of useful information. And some of the things we kind of focus on is how the coronavirus and the stay-at-home order and The situation we find ourselves in is affecting local business, and you being a local businessman, you can address that as well.
Well, thank you, Ricky. And I want to thank you and Amy and the entire staff for being so willing to work with all of us that are involved. I will share a couple of things with you, and that is that they being CDC grouped the funeral directors and funeral homes in with the medical profession, just for the sake of trying to gather up all of the information and equipment that was out there that could be mustered up. So in saying that, we come under some fairly stringent guidelines as well. And one of the things that I want to share, Ricky, with the people is that the time that we are living in at the present is so much different from the yesterdays that we know it. I've been in the funeral profession for over 50 years now, and I grew up in the funeral profession, and my goodness, it's always been a hugging and a handshaking and getting close to, and all of that has to be in the past as of right now. So we started being very, very careful in how we treated our families. The death of a loved one is still just as strong in spite of our virus and the pandemic as it's ever been. So we have to keep that in the front of our mind, and yet customize things with a family the best we can in order to comply with the CDC. So as I share these things with you, it's from a caring standpoint, but also from a legal standpoint. And just briefly, I want to say that they, being the CDS and the Alabama governor, has issued some mandates that we have to abide by, but also we was handed down some mandates from the National Funeral Directors Association, which covers a few different things. But with Dr. Scott Harris, the state health officer, and Governor Kay Ivey's most recent order, it just limits the number of family members that can participate at a graveside. I'm sorry. But I will say this, that knowing that limitation, there can only be 10 people. That includes the minister or ministers and funeral director or funeral directors. There can only be a total of 10 people, and they have to be spread out a minimum of 6 feet apart. Well, we had a service Sunday, and it was a graveside service, as all of them are at the present time. But in doing that, we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 cars that were lined up out there, again, spaced 6 foot apart, the cars were. And so we had the 8 family members up underneath the tent. We had the minister and then myself. Well, we had our equipment, our mic and sounding equipment out there. And so we broadcast it out over 2 large speakers so that everybody present could hear and still have us in compliance for everybody's safety.
Right.
So when it was over with at the graveside, I just simply took the mic. I made an announcement to each car that was out there, and I asked them, and I started on the end of the row and asked them to just simply exit their car and wave to the family. Now, I had the family lined up there, again, somewhat 6 foot apart, all of us, but we were facing this row of cars. Everybody exited their cars. They waved, they throwed kisses, they throwed hugs, they cried, and then once everybody had acknowledged their presence to the family, and that's what I thought it was all about. That's what I thought it should be about. As we know, Ricky, and I would just say to you and Amy, what we do for the dead is useless. What we do for the living means everything. So we've tried to customize this graveside mandate, if you will, in a way that everybody can walk away feeling like that mom or dad or my child or whomever the deceased may be got a professional and a dignified burial. Now, I will go another step further, and in implementing the 10 family member thing, or the 10 people on a graveside, that holds true at the funeral home as well. I mean, the family comes into view, they can view, but they have to maintain 6 feet apart, and it can only be 10 in that room at one time. So we allow that to take place, but we certainly see that they're spread out. Now, we monitor who goes in that chapel and who comes out of the chapel. We, at this point, are really and truly not requiring anybody to wear a mask. That's up to them. If they feel comfortable in doing so, by all means. But we have all kinds of sanitizers and publications sitting around everywhere. So you can't hardly walk from a 10-foot radius that you're not going to come in contact with either some information and or some hand sanitizer.
Okay.
So
Terry,
again,
I want to ask you a question quickly. I just want to interject here. You know, you're talking about the graveside service. Is there anything that stops the family from, once you've had the service? Sometimes there'll be people that may not have the opportunity to go and visit the funeral home, if you will, for the visitation. Is there a way to, once the service is over, you talk about how you had the family members, a lot of the people that came to pay their respects. Is there a way to have it to where they could, one family at the time, come up to graveside and pay their respects? If it's still keeping the number of 10 under, as long as you're limiting the number of 10, is that something that's been considered?
yes, ma'am, it is. However, let me share this with you. You have to be extremely careful, and of course, you don't want to rush things and time consuming when you say you've got 30 vehicles lined up out there. You've got, by the time that they vacate their vehicle, walk up and say within a 10 to 20 foot space of the family and speak to them, then time you get down, you've got you've got 3 hours involved in that. And again, I'm not trying to rush things. I'm just trying to be realistic. But I will tell you that I want to go one step further, Amy, and I can only speak for Terry Sorrells and my staff, Donnie Atkinson and Chad Bright and Joan Langford and Terry Lynn. We have decided that because of the virus situation and realizing the position it puts a family in, that we are having the graveside service so that a family can have something and not just be in limbo for, say, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, that kind of thing. We go ahead with the graveside, but we have told every family that we've served that let's go ahead with the graveside today or tomorrow or when you choose within the next few days. And then we're going to give you a paid statement. Down the road, I would encourage the family to have a memorial service whereby they can do something, come back together, and we're going to offer them the use of our facilities at no cost whatsoever. But we want them to call us and schedule a memorial service so that they can have some final closure and do it with the friends who would like to come. It
I
just
think
makes
that's great.
and again, I can't speak for every funeral home. I can only speak for me and my staff. But I will tell you, we funeral directors have found ourselves in a very, very, very dire straits here in trying to be safe, number one. Number two, respectful to these families and see that they are taken care of in a manner that not only are we being safe, but we are working to keep them safe as well.
Right.
So, again, mandates that we have has come down is just simply been such as the 10 people rule. We limit families to coming in to sit down with us, which what we call is counseling time, when they share with us what their wishes are, and we help compile it and put it all together and get their approval, of course, before we do anything. But again, we are working diligently and have been to come up with new ideas. We have talked with funeral directors throughout this state and elsewhere that are friends of ours and shared with them things we were doing, and we got things that they were doing. But I will also tell you that we are working diligently to get more involved with the online stuff. I've told families there's a couple of changes here that we've had to make concerning this virus. One of them is safety. I mean, some of it and the majority of it is common sense. Perhaps it's things we should have been doing all along for the most part, but for safety purposes, that is so vitally important. But I have shared with people, and even did so Sunday afternoon with that many people out there lined up in their cars. I just shared with them the meaning of your presence, meaning more than anything you could ever say, is so vitally important today.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
the more they showed up, it's not so much that they get out of their car and grab a microphone and start talking. It's not what you say, but your presence means everything. So,
well, Terry, I definitely think that these are things that you know, we don't like to think about a lot of times, but it is a reality in the world that we live in right now at this time, having to make those changes and those adjustments. And we know that even as a funeral home director and owner, that things have changed drastically for you guys. And thank you so much for what you're doing. And thank you for always considering the family's feelings and knowing the importance of being able to have that closure for the family and what that does mean, which also brings us to our other guests that we have asked to join us today. Terry, not only do we have to consider the end of life celebration, we also need to take time to consider just the anxiety that our friends and families are living through right now during this difficult time. And that's why we've asked Brother Michael Gibson from my church here in Wicksburg, Panther Creek Baptist, to come on today with us and say a few words of encouragement, because with the anxiety and being locked in, if you will, a lot of us at home under, stay at home orders, there's anxiety and unsurety that comes along with a lot of this. And sometimes, those comforting words just need to be heard. And welcome to the show, Michael. We're so glad to have you on with us today. Make sure your mic is not muted. Look and see if your mic is muted on your screen.
While he's checking that, let me let you know that you are watching Wiregrass Strong, brought to you by Knights Wrecker as a public service, 899-3257. We have 17 folks watching on Facebook Live, and we've got well over 23 people watching presently on our YouTube channel. And we want to say hello to Shay McDaniel, Jared Cole Harden, and also Priscilla Lowe, who has checked in. Tranny Idings wants to know, does anybody know anything about Walgreens over by Southeast Medical Center closing? I don't
We'll
have
check
anything
into that.
on that, but we'll get into that. Let's see if Michael's got his mic fixed. Michael?
Still not hearing him.
I tell you,
I will
Michael, yeah,
make sure he's not muted on your side.
he's not muted here. We got his mic on, so
Hello? Now it is definitely muted. I'm seeing a mute sign on Michael. There we go. We are having a hard time getting Michael's mic working this morning or
I'm
this
going to click mute, which it shows mute, and now I'm going to unmute it.
Mhm.
Michael?
Make sure.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and drop Michael here because hopefully logging back in will fix that. Can you hear us, Michael? If you can hear us, just give us a thumbs up.
Yeah, he can hear us.
Okay, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and drop that connection and let him try logging in one more time because I think it's very important that we get inside of it. You mentioned earlier, Terry, about the fact that as members of the human race, mankind, God's creatures, we are hugging and fellowshipping folks. And especially in time of bereavement, we want to reach out, we want to hold, we want to hug, we want to console. And such a difficult time right now. And my heart also goes out for the fact that a lot of hospital rooms where the elderly may be
That
passing
should be
away,
Michael.
where they'll be passing away by themselves. That is such
yeah.
a heartening thing to me right now. Talk to me.
Michael. Still not working.
He was talking to us earlier. There's obviously a mute on his phone or
something.
His phone.
I see him. I see your mouth moving.
I know.
I'm not hearing anything.
Rotate your phone landscape there, Michael. That's not going to help your mic, though, I don't think.
Yeah, no. Okay, so maybe we need to schedule Michael to come back on with us tomorrow so we can get the bugs worked out.
Can we do that, Michael? Can we do it, Michael? I apologize so much. Pastor Michael Gibson of Panther Creek Baptist Church. Thank you, brother, for being here.
That gives us time to get a bigger audience for Michael.
That's right. He's going to have a big Easter celebration over there this Sunday, so we'll talk more about that tomorrow. Michael, thank you for being here with us, even though we can't hear you. Thanks, brother. All right.
So we'll get that worked out for sure because we definitely want to hear what Brother Michael's got to say. You know, Terry, I was reading a story, and I don't know if you're familiar with this or not, but actually, Albany, Georgia, and over in let's see. Yeah, it's over in Albany. It's actually been a hot spot in that area. And they're saying that per capita, it is actually hanging right in there with some of the larger areas that have extreme cases like over in Louisiana. And that it's all due to an actual funeral that was being held. I don't know if you've seen the reports of it, but actually they're saying it was 2 funerals. I correct myself. It was 2 funerals. On March 12th, the state's first confirmed coronavirus death occurred when a 67-year-old victim had come to Albany, Georgia to attend a funeral of a man who had died in February. And they're talking about how it only took one person attending a funeral and then the and the actual official, the chaplain that actually held the funeral, contracted the virus, and then held another funeral, unbeknownst to anybody there or even to himself, that he had been exposed to the virus, which then exposed it to many more other people. And the CDC has been involved, and they've been trying to kind of go back and backtrack and find out where the actual exposure came from. But that right there, we know that it's really difficult during these times for our friends and family not to be able to say goodbye or have closure in the typical way. The norm that we've been used to for so many years is no longer the norm.
Amen.
And but it's the reason why it has to be this way. And I understand that you guys even need to be very careful, Terry, in the manner in which you actually handle someone who has passed away from because still there isn't enough evidence out there to say that you guys can't be infected from someone who's passed on from the virus. And I know that has to be something that's in the back of your mind all the time as well.
Amen. You're absolutely right, Amy. And a couple of things here. I will share this with you. We spoke with a physician recently, and in the discussion, it came down as to them being the medical personnel, if you will, everybody on the front line. His statement was, "What in the world are we going to do if this curve doesn't start to flatten, and the medical people start coming down ill?"
Mhm.
That's one thing, but
Right.
he said, "Terry, let me tell you, there's a considerable amount of medical facilities and medical personnel that are available out there, but there's not that great a number of funeral directors and funeral homes. So if the funeral directors start coming down with it, then who's going to take care of our dead?" So
Mhm.
I thought that was a very good point. And I would, Amy, like to touch just briefly on your comments there about the funeral home over in Georgia. There was two funerals held there,
Mhm.
and I have not saw confirmed reports on what I'm sharing with you, only through other funeral directors. But I have been told, and has been confirmed, there was two funerals held.
Mhm.
Out of those two funerals held at the same funeral home by the same personnel,
Mhm.
some 40 plus individuals that came down with the virus. Well, they automatically had to go back and start pulling out the register books to
Mhm.
find out those who attended those services. And for the most part, all of those people had to become self-quarantined. So
Right.
that kind of thing is, and one of those cases, I do know now for a fact, happened to come into Dothan.
Mhm.
So, I mean, into the hospital, one of the hospitals in Dothan. So
Right.
I'm saying that to you to say that we, as a funeral director, number one, we have to just abide by all the laws and regulations that have been sent down to us, no matter who they were mandated by. But
Right.
I go back and say again, oh, there's so much of what we have discovered here that is common sense. I
Mhm.
mean, just common sense. And it's things we should have been applying long ago. And certainly we have come to realize, Amy, over these last few weeks, that our way of life has changed.
It absolutely has, Terry. And, we just wanted to have you on as a guest today to discuss the reality of we've seen how weddings have changed. My daughter will become a first time mother next week, and how that's changed, where even I won't be able to attend the hospital with her. So, I wanted to also address the way that funerals are having to be held because when you lose a loved one, it's extremely difficult, but to not be able to say those final goodbyes in the way that many family members are traditionally used to definitely has changed our world. And you've shed some light on that today. And I know that you guys are extremely compassionate and very concerned, eh, trying to see to it that the family does get proper closure. And I want to take the time to thank you for coming on with us today because it's been very informative and it's naturally a thing that needed to be discussed. And you guys are absolutely wonderful at what you do at Sorrells Funeral Home in Slocum. So thank you for joining us.
You're so kind, Amy. And again, I want to thank you and Ricky for for allowing me the opportunity to be a part of today's show and broadcast. And again, I'm sure that there's all kinds of questions that remain out there as to how do we do this? How can we do this?
Right.
We welcome those questions. We tell families, listen, we are living in a time, this is all new to us too. But if
Right.
you want us to take you by the hand and hold you in our hearts, the only way we know to do that, we welcome that opportunity and we'll guide you through. It's just very unfortunate we have to use the social media to do so
Right.
now.
And
But
I do want to make a point too before we go, because we're about ready to close the show out. But Terry, I wanted you to convey what you told me when we spoke the other day. You know, sometimes we weren't sure when we decided to do this Wiregrass Strong every day from 5 to 5:30, how the public was going to accept this. We try to have on our enforcement personnel. We try to have health officials on. We try to have preachers on and funeral directors and just real life folks here in the Wiregrass, because this COVID-19 has affected every facet of our economy, every facet of our business. And here locally, we wanted to do what we could to try to keep our listeners and viewers informed. And you gave us one of the highest compliments the other day. And I wanted you to share that with our listeners, what this has meant to you as just a listener of our station.
absolutely. I mean, just the fact that you and Ricky you're the two that has been for the most part briefing all of the things that's been going on and talking with each of us. I'm telling you, from the media standpoint, I can't thank both of you enough for the way you have reached out and brought together really full circle a set of questions with different ones to provide answers. And to me, it goes much deeper than the two of you just having a job and or just being radio personalities. You are excellent at what you do. You come across that way, and I want you to know that both of you, along with Dave, y'all
And Marcus and Squirrel.
well, amen. Yes.
Yes.
But I want each of you to know that the way you reach out to people, the smiles that you bring to people, the sincerity part of it, Amy, comes across without the presence of looking someone eye to eye. So to listen to each of you is just a godsend, and I'm telling you. So I want to say to each of you that while we keep each of you in our prayers as you continue to work and provide the information that is so desperately needed, we're going to keep our entire community. We're going to keep our state officials, our local officials, our government officials. There are so many people that are involved. And quite frankly, most of them has a job that they're trying to do that I wouldn't want. So
Right.
I want to thank each of you for the way you've reached out and the way that you care for and love on the community through being a radio personality.
Well, thank you. The Lord has definitely blessed our team. We have a wonderful team, and we have a wonderful community. So, Marcus Cage with Magic 93.1, Squirrel with Rock 100, and of course, my morning show partner, my other half, Dave Gilligan. We make a wonderful team, and Brother Ricky. And we are blessed, and we just want to do our part. And I know a lot of people are used to the music side of things, but we felt like this was something we need to do this to do our part for the community. So thank you so much for those wonderful words, Terry, and we appreciate you coming on. And Brother Ricky, do you have anything to add to that?
I did want to ask Terry, do you know Kimberly Hughes Sorrells?
Yes, sir. I know her really well. That's a sister-in-law of mine, married my younger brother.
Perry Sorrells and Lisa S. Hatfield.
That's my baby sister.
Thank
they're
y'all
all
so
watching.
much.
Yeah, they're all watching, along with Roland Wilson and Trini Idings and Priscilla Lowe. And Adriana. We've got a bunch of folks watching
Yes.
and here with us.
Well,
Terry,
Thank y'all so much.
All
Well,
right.
again, I want to thank each of you, and of course, I want to thank my family for the support that they have shown me, not only during in this particular time of this pandemic, but just throughout the years that God has had me in this profession. I'm one of those individuals that He called into it a number of years ago. He put me on a roller coaster, if you will. He took me through the darkest of valleys, but He's put me right up on the mountaintop to where I could see the other side as well.
Amen.
So, got a lot of blessings to count.
Thank
As
you
we
so
all do.
much for joining us today. Terry Sorrells of Sorrells Funeral Home in Slocum, Alabama. It's Wiregrass Strong. Brother Ricky, thank you for having us on today, and we'll bring Brother Michael back from Panther Creek Baptist Church. We'll have him back on with us tomorrow. It's been a great day. Thank y'all.
Absolutely. Thank you, Amy. All right. Want to remind you that this Friday we'll have Alabama Secretary of State John Merrill on Wiregrass Strong. He's going to be here to talk about the July 14th primary runoff election amid the coronavirus epidemic and how you can use absentee balloting. So he'll be here to talk with us about that. Tomorrow we will have Police Chief of Dothan, Steve Parrish, will be in here with us. And then hopefully Thursday we'll get Brother Michael Gibson of Panther Creek Baptist Church back on. Want to thank Knights Wrecker Service for giving us this half hour to inform you on Wiregrass Strong. Knights Wrecker Service, 899-3257, Ashford, Dothan, and Headland. Let them be your knight in shining armor. Streaming live on Facebook at B1053 and on YouTube at Wiregrass Radio. Catch Amy and Dave, Pollard and Dave, tomorrow morning, live on those platforms and live on B1053. And now we return you to normal programming.